Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the English classes. And I hope the previous lesson is very crystal clear to each and every one of you. That is the Summer of the White Beautiful Horse. And let's now move on to the next chapter from your snapshot, that is birth. A very beautiful chapter. Actually, I like this chapter a lot because it tells a lot about life. It tells a lot about not leaving hope. It tells a lot about how to face the challenges in diverse situations also. Now, what this story is about. This chapter, which is being written by A.J. Cronin, actually it's a lesson about a doctor. About a doctor in the sense that a doctor whose name is Andrew Manson. Okay, and he's a new medical practitioner, and he is the one who is assisting another doctor, like how juniors learning from the seniors, like that only he is assisting some other doctor, and he delivers a baby. Okay, a delivery case was there, and he delivers the baby, and the baby was born to a couple who were childless for 20 years. That baby was a stillborn baby, a dead baby. And it was something like a shock for everyone, for the doctor, and for everyone it will be. Not for the mother, we cannot say because she was unconscious. Father was outside. Only the mother of that lady who delivered the baby and the nurse over there, the midwife over there, for them it was a shock. But then the efforts that was put in by that doctor, even after he himself was going through a lot of agony due to the mental disturbance he had because of his relationship with his girlfriend, still how he tried to rescue the baby, that is marvelous. And also very important thing that this chapter tells us, you know what is that? It tells us that life is never running according to a textbook. It runs with experience, practical knowledge. It is not necessary that every time what you study from a book that only can help you to live a life. Sometimes what you experience from outside, what you learn from outside, what you watch, that helps you a lot. This is one such example. So let's begin the chapter. Chapter 7, Birth by A.J. Cronin. In this excerpt from the Citadel, Andrew Manson, newly out of medical school, has just begun his medical practice as an assistant to Dr. Edward Page in the small Welsh mining town of Blenheim. As he is returning from a disappointing evening with Christine, the girl he loves, he is met by Joe Morgan. Joe and his wife, who have been married nearly 20 years, are expecting their first child. It's a small introduction. Andrew Manson, as I told you, just a newly passed out medical fellow, and he was working under the assistance of another doctor named as Dr. Edward Page. One night, he returned from a meeting. A meeting means not a doctor's meeting. It was a meeting with his girlfriend. It was a date with his girlfriend, Christine. And I don't know what happened between the two, but it was a very tensed night for him. He was highly tensed, mentally disturbed he was. And then he reached his home, and to his surprise, he found Joe Morgan, a miner, waiting for him. Actually, he was living in a place, Welsh, which was a mining town. Mining town means where the miners, Kudai and all those things has been done. That mining town of one place named as Blenheim. Now Joe Morgan, who is this fellow? Joe Morgan and his wife, they were married since 20 years. And after the 20 years of their married life, they were expecting their first child. Can you just imagine? That waiting was golden. they were waiting very eagerly for this baby to come in this world, because after 20 years of their marriage they were getting a baby. So it was indeed of a great importance. It was like a magic for them. And then let's see what actually happened. Though it was nearly midnight when Andrew reached Bringover, he found Joe Morgan waiting for him, walking up and down with short steps between the closed surgery and the entrance to the house. At the sight of him, the burly driller's face expressed relief. "Yeah, doctor, I'm glad to see you. I've been back and forward here this last hour. The missus wants you before time too." Now, it was nearly midnight, means 12 past, or maybe going to be 12, when Andrew, he reached front of his house, Bringo. And then he found that a very impatient Joe Morgan was waiting for him, walking up and down between the passage of his surgery and the entrance of the house. And when he saw the doctor, this heavy, or you can say that stout and healthy driller means the one who drills the mines and all, his face gave an expression of relief, and he said to the doctor, "Doctor, I'm so glad to see you. I have been back and forward means moving front and back, he means that only, up down, from last hour. And the reason is that I feel that my Mrs. confinement means her delivery has reached before time. So I need your help. I need you to come." Then Andrew abruptly recalled from the contemplation of his own affairs, told Morgan to wait. He went into the house for his bag. Then together they set out for number 12 Blainer Terrace. The night air was cool and deep with quiet mystery. Usually no perceptive, Andrew now felt dull and listless. He had no premonition that this night call would prove unusual, still less that it would influence his whole future in Blaney. When Joe, he placed his entire trust on him and said that, "I was eagerly waiting for you. My missus needs you now. Her delivery is approaching before time." Then Andrew, he abruptly, he came out from his contemplation, means deep thoughts. Meditation is the word used, but here we will say deep thoughts. He was drowned in some deep thoughts. So suddenly he just came out from those deep thoughts of his own matters, and he said to Morgan, "You just please wait." He went inside. He fetched his doctor's kit and the medical kit he got, and then they both set out on their walk towards Joe Morgan's house, which was somewhere in Blainer Terrace, number 12. The night was cool, and it looked very mysterious, rahasmay. And generally he is very perceptive, no? Like he's very clear in his thoughts that what he wants to do. But today he was very dull and listless, means he was very dull and looked very, you can say that, like, don't know what to do, what I'm supposed to do. So there was maybe some tension between him and his girlfriend. And then he had no premonitions. Premonition, all of you know what it means. It means like knowing about something beforehand. We call it as purvabhas in Hindi. That this night call, he never had any kind of this prior thoughts in his mind that this night call for which he's going for a visit for that Joe Morgan's wife's delivery, that will bring a big change in his life and his stay in that place called as Blaney. The two men walked in silence, and until they reached the door of number 12 when Joe drew up short. "I will not come in," he said, and his voice showed signs of strain. "But man, I know you will do well for us." They both walked in silence. Joe might be in his own tension, and Andrew was already tensed. And they reached the door of the house. And Joe Morgan, we can understand his condition. He was so tensed with his wife's plight and the condition that he said that, "I won't come up." And he said to the doctor that, "I am having full faith on you." But the voice was strained, tensed. But he said to doctor that, "I place my full trust on you." Inside, a narrow stair led up to a small bedroom, clean but poorly furnished, and lit only by an oil lamp. Here, Mr. Morgan's mother, a tall, grey haired woman of nearly 70, and a stout, elderly midwife waited beside the patient, watching Andrew's expression as he moved about the room. Okay, now the inside area has been told to us. Morgan stayed outside and Andrew went inside, and he had to climb some stairs, and it has led him to a small bedroom. It was very clean, though poorly furnished, means not very lot of items were there. And then one oil lamp was burning. Then Mrs. Morgan, means the lady who is going to deliver the baby, her mother, she was standing there. The lady was around some 70 years old and tall, and her hairs have turned grey, means full white. And one more lady was there. She was stout, means short and heavy. She was an elderly midwife, means aged. Elderly here means aged. Midwife means in Hindi we people call it as dai, means the earlier time when there were no nurses and doctors were not there, and or otherwise people don't want to go to the doctor. There used to be one lady, experienced one, who used to deliver the baby, the midwife, and they were waiting by the side of the patient. Patient means the lady who's going to deliver the baby, and they were looking at what Andrew is going to say after the checkup as he came inside the room. "Let me make you a cup of tea, Dr. Raj," said the farmer quickly after a few moments. Who is the farmer over here? Out of the two, about whom I said first? About whom I said first? Mrs. Morgan's mother. So when the doctor came, she said to the doctor, "Let me make a cup of tea for you, doctor." And then Andrew, he smiled faintly. He saw that the old woman, wise in experience, realized there must be a period of waiting, that she was afraid he would leave the case, saying he would return later. "Don't fret, mother, I will not run away." When she offered a cup of tea, actually a purpose was there behind it. Experienced lady, Mimi, and she knew, see, when a lady delivers the baby, two types of deliveries are there. One is cesarean and one is normal delivery. Normal delivery in which no cuts, no operation is done, and cesarean in which operation is done. So basically for the normal delivery to take place, there are certain process. Some opening is needed, the opening is needed, and then this opening, when it opens, then only the baby comes out from a mother's womb. So here also, Andrew, he understood that the old lady might have seen that still there is time for the delivery to take place, and she was frightened that the doctor will check, means he will check and he'll say that still time is there, I'll come back, and he will not, or he may not come back. So he said to the lady, "Mother, don't worry." Fret means anger, but here it is worry. "I will not run away," he said to the lady. Down in the kitchen, he drank the tea which she gave him. Overwrought as he was, he knew he could not snatch even an hour's sleep if he went home. He knew too that the case here would demand all his attention. A queer lethargy of spirit came upon him. He decided to remain until everything was over. Okay, as was offered, he was given a cup of tea down in the kitchen, and while he was drinking it, he felt that he was overwrought. Overwrought means tiredness don't come only because of physical workout or physical things. Even if mentally a person is disturbed, then also the tiredness comes up. So he was tired because of that, and he knew it very well that if he go back home, maybe very soon he has to come back over here, so he won't be able to get even an hour's sleep also. Moreover, when he knew that after 20 years the family or the couple is going to get the baby, definitely it calls for a lot of you can say that watch, and that's why he decided that I'm going to stay back here till everything gets over. An hour or later, he went upstairs again, noted the progress made, came down once more, sat by the kitchen fire. It was still, except for the rustle of a cinder in the grate and the slow tick-tock of the wall clock. No, there was another sound, the beat of Morgan's footsteps as he paced in the street outside. The old woman opposite him sat in her black dress, quite motionless, her eyes staring, strangely alive and wise, probably never leaving his face. While he was there, around an hour later, he went again upstairs to check out whether the time has come for the delivery. But still, time was there, so he came back down and sat by the kitchen fireside. And then he could hear the rustling sound. Rustling sound means in the fireplace when the charcoal was burning, so one kind of a crackling noise comes, na, chit 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 type one. That is the rustling of the cinder. Then the tick tock of the wall clock. But beside these two noises, again one third noise was also audible, and that was the impatient footsteps or the tensed footsteps of Morgan, who was pacing up and down on the street outside. The old woman was dressed in black, and she was sitting down quietly over there without making much move, continuously staring at the doctor. Not for a moment she was leaving his face. And then basically what the further this paragraph which I'm going to read out, it's something about the thoughts which has muddled him a lot, about which has given him a lot of tension. So let's see what the thoughts are all about. His thoughts were heavy, muddled. The episode he had witnessed at a Cardiff station still obsessed him morbidly. He thought of Bramble, foolishly devoted to a woman who deceived him sordidly, of Edward Page, bound to the shrewish Blodwen, of Denny, living unhappily apart from his wife. His reason told him that all these marriages were dismal failures. It was a conclusion which, in his present state, made him wince. He wished to consider marriage as an idyllic state, yes. He could not otherwise consider it with the image of Christine before him, her eyes shining towards him, admitted no other conclusion. It was the conflict between his level, doubting mind, and his overflowing heart which left him resentful and confused. He let his chin sink upon his chest, stretched out his legs, stared broodingly into the fire. He remained like this so long, and his thoughts were so filled with Christine that he started when the old woman opposite suddenly addressed him. Her meditation had pursued a different course. Now here, as you can see, now maybe you might have got a slight hint why he was so tensed, why he was all muddled up. He was all muddled up because of the things that he had seen around him. He was definitely in love with Christine, but he had seen some instances of failed marriages. At one place he had spoke about someone named as Bramble, who was devoted to a woman who was deceiving him badly. And then here it is given the name of that doctor under whom he was assisting, that is Dr. Edward Page, who was having a relationship with another lady, leaving his own wife. So according to him, all these were total failures. And he was a kind of a man who believed that marriage means something very idyllic. And if these are the things what happens from a marriage, he cannot relate them with Christine, because for him Christine is everything. And this is what was giving him a lot of trouble. A lot of, you can say that a war was going on within him. Between what he had seen, between the doubts that he had raised up in his mind, and then definitely his love for Christine. All this was creating a lot of puzzle inside him, within him. And then he decided to give himself a break, and because of that reason, what he did, he let his chin sink upon his chest, like how you let yourself loose on a chair, means you pull yourself down and let the chin rest over your chest, like everything else is to be just faded out. And his leg was stretched out, and he started looking continuously towards the fire, means his gaze got fixed at the fire, and it seemed like he had been there in that position for quite a long time. And then his thoughts were all filled up with Christine and all those things going on in his mind, that he got up suddenly when he heard someone calling. And who it was? It was the old lady who was trying to talk to him, and she was like trying to call him back from his deep meditation and say something to him. And then she said, Susan said not to give her the chloroform if it would harm the baby. She is awful set upon this child, doctor. Her old eyes warmed at a sudden thought. She added in a low tone, Viola, I fancy. He collected himself with an effort. It won't do any harm. The anesthetic, he said kindly. They will be all right. Worry of a mother. That old lady, she said to the doctor that I want to give you a message of the mother who is going to deliver the baby. She said that she may not be given the chloroform in case if the chloroform is going to do any kind of harm to the baby. So she's ready to bear all the pain of the delivery, because she is very much eagerly waiting for the baby to be delivered. They are from 20 years they had been waiting for the baby. And then he got up and sat down and he said to the old lady that don't worry, the anesthetic is not going to do any harm to any of them. And let's give a hold over here. We are hanging up, and then we'll continue with the rest of it in the next video. Till then, goodbye and stay safe.